time is it? What time is it? What time is it? What time is it?
Tell the whole damn world this is people's territory. Yeah, we gotta stop. So we're here to see that Arizona's not a education, not deportation. Education, not deportation. Education, not deportation.
Somos millones, muévenos bien. Somos uno, somos 100.
So basically, I'm just going to give a quick overview of the labor movement history and where it's gone and kind of what the labor movement's been working towards. By the late 1820s, various unions became involved in the efforts to reduce the working day from 12 to 10 hours. This was just the beginning of the idea of joining workers together in pursuit of a common objectives for Americans' working people. Although the first efforts put forward were slight improvements, the need for legal and economic protection from their employees prevailed. With workers identifying the true power of their employers, a steady increase in local union organizations increased. Through the middle 19th century, as a result of unions from the different trades united, formed federations such as the NLU, the National Labor Union, Knights of Labor, and the AFL, the American Federation of Labor. In 1900, in order to organize against lower wages and unsafe working conditions, women workers formed the International Ladies Garment Workers Union, the ILGWU. The ILGWU is created for the first garment workers' strike, known as the Great Revolt. The protests brought 60,000 New Yorkers, garment workers, to the streets to fight for their rights. Women and children on the picket lines were threatened, beaten, and targeted with guns. Even with this adversity, in the long run they are granted higher wages and hour standards, as well as unbiased negotiation of their disagreements. Although the early part of the 19th century was depicted as a roaring time for the music and arts, it was an era of great hardships for the unemployed. The post-World War I depression drastically decreased once higher wages and caused major attrition of union membership. The mistreatment of workers in this sweatshops type environment grew until finally reaching legislation in 1938 when President Roosevelt signed the Fair Labor Standards Act, the FLSA. This one act enforced a minimum wage, required overtime pay for 40 hours a week, as well as prohibited child labor laws. FLSA brought protection, relief, as well as some degree of job security to tens of thousands of workers and is still in full force to this day. Though much time has passed since the inception of these government agreements and the institution of unions, and great strides have been made to ensure protection under these agreements, there is still much to be done to ensure the sanctity. A fair day's pay for a fair day's work. This is a statement that still rings true today. It is believed that a person that does his job to the best of his or her ability should be paid a fair salary. Under state and federal regulations, many employers are told that they have to enforce this rule. Unfortunately, there are not enough watchdogs to ensure that all employers stand by the rules set forth by employing workers. Unions play an important role in ensuring that the labor protections are not just paper promises at the workplace. Government agencies that are charged with the enforcement of these rules and regulations cannot monitor every workplace. Unions have been instrumental in helping the members by giving the workers the information they need about their rights and necessary procedures they need to negotiate solutions to dispute they have with employers. By having organized labor, the single employees do not have to stand alone. Bringing together groups of people who work the same jobs and put in the same time that are entitled to the same benefits, you are bringing together a stronger and united front. In giving the people the ability to choose their own representatives to help enforce the rights, gives each and every one of them the ability to be heard. Unions have provided labor protections to their members in many ways. They are the voice of the workers, identifying where regulations and laws are needed and have gotten these laws enacted. They provide information about rights and available programs. They encourage members to exercise their rights and participate in programs by helping to alleviate the fear of employer retribution. Though it is very important that the workers' rights are protected at all times, there are many who still believe that unions are making it difficult for companies to bid on and get contracts. Because of the strict guidelines that are set by unions, many employers feel that they can undercut the bottom line by hiring non-union workers to do the same jobs for less money. It is not the matter that these workers are not put to do the same standards as unions workers are. The important thing is that they are making more money. By being able to pay less, they are able to make more. the importance of organized labor is substantial. By putting forth a unified front, these employers are forced to do things the right way or suffer consequences. Representation is of the utmost importance. Governing forces help to establish what is the fact, right and wrong. High standards are set for union employers and officials. Training is a top priority to ensure that a union employee is in fact set to the standard of excellence expected by union employers. The training and maintaining of this excellence is not taken lightly by the executors of these guidelines. Organized labor is set to task on making sure that people performing these jobs are trained to the best of their ability and feel they are being prepared. One should be compensated. By organizing and protecting these workers' rights should not only allow history to repeat itself in this country. Many workers over the past years have learned that being unified and organized, they do have the ability to guide their own future. Unfortunately, there are still many people that are trying to undermine the strong foundation that the organized labor movement has built. The hiring of unskilled workers who are performing jobs that they are not qualified for and not giving them the benefits they are entitled to helps to undermine the foundation that our fathers before us have established. Union-made and American-made is something that helps to build up the structure of this great country. The foundation is strong, but through pressures to get things done faster and cheaper, not necessarily correctly, have caused disastrous results.
All right, today I'm going to talk about the overview of New York City labor movement. New York City became the national center of labor activity in colonial times. Some of the first labor conflicts were slave insurrections in 1712 and 1741. In 1794, a group of journeyman printers formed Franklin Typographical Society, the city's first permanent association of wage earners. In 1850, the labor movement regained its strength through several bitter strikes and formation of Industrial Congress, a coalition of unionist reform groups and intellectuals that lasted until 1852. As early as 1850, the city was the most productive manufacturing center in the United States and attractive location for needle traders, printing, and other industries. In 1872, 100,000 workers in the building trades were. In 1872, 100,000 workers in the building trades waged a successful 3-month strike for the 8-hour day. Nearly every major labor organization was well represented in the city, notably the Socialist International Working Men's Association, which had its headquarters there, the Knights of Labor, and several individual crafts unions. Such prominent editors such as John Swinton and Patrick Ford launched newspapers devoted to labor issues. The city's union and labor reformers adopted a political approach that soon proved highly successful in gaining a widespread support despite economic downturns, disagreements over strategy and tactics, and periodic repression by the police, such as that in the Tompkins Square riot in 1874. In 1886, conflicts led to the rapid decline of the Knights of Labor and the formation of American Federation of Labor, the AFL, which represented only a fraction of the country's workers, but under Gomper's leadership, Samuel Gompers, became the leading labor confederation, largely through its emphasis on organizing craft workers. But about this time, a large influx of immigrants settled in the city from southern and central Europe and Russia, leading to sharp ethnic antagonism among these groups and with longer established ones. Cindy Hillman, president of the Amalgamated Clothing Workers of America, ACWA, Hillman called for grouping workers along industry rather than craft lines and introduced a form of collective bargaining, sometimes called industrial democracy, that invited workers to settle disputes on the shop floor. His ideas were well received and became known as New Unionism. Under Hillman, ACWA also offered unemployment insurance, low-cost housing for members in Manhattan and the Bronx, and group health care, and among the Amalgamated Bank, which provided workers with low interest credits. Under Mayor Robert F. Wagner, AFL-CIO won the right to collective bargaining. The transport workers brought the city to a halt with a 12-day strike in 1966, during the next 3 years by social workers led to the passage of the Taylor Law in 1967, which outlawed strikes of 1968 in Ocean Hill and Brownsville, which marked a turning point in race relations in the city.